Upfront MMA posted on Twitter that the UFC 309 co-main event is in jeopardy and that the UFC is looking for a replacement opponent for Charles Oliveira. Oliveira reacted on the news where Dustin Poirier and Nurmagomedov both give a response offering their service to be the replacement opponent. But then Ariel Helwani, a solid and valid source, confirmed that these rumors are fake and UFC 309 co-main event is good to go, thankfully. Instead, two other fights from UFC 309 card are really off. Nikita Krylov vs Azamat Murzakanov because of Murzakanov is out, and David Onama vs Lucas Almeida because Almeida is out. The UFC are looking for replacements to keep both fighters on the card. Michael Chandler, by the way, believes Arman Tsarukyan will lose his title shot and he will eventually fight Islam Makhachev for the belt after beating Charles Oliveira at UFC 309. He also revealed that he warned John Jones at the UFC 306 meeting to steal the show at UFC 309. CSAC director Andy Foster gave an interview to Ariel Helwani where he showed support in overturning John Jones' disqualification loss and giving him his undefeated record back. Continuing UFC 310 main event story, Michael Bisping puts another name in the hat to face Shavkat Rakhmonov for the interim welterweight belt. Bisping is confident that Shavkat Rakhmonov should face his country fellow Leon Edwards at UFC 310. Bisping believes beating Rakhmonov will get Edwards his rematch with Bilal Muhammad. But opposing to that idea, Leon Edwards is targeting a return at the UFC's UK show in March or April 2025 because he is currently recovering from a back injury. By the way, Colby Covington tells Submission Radio that he also offered to step in to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov for the interim title at UFC 310 but believes the promotion are going down the route of Kamaru Usman instead. He reveals the reason he has not fought this year is because he's been healing an injured foot as well as helping Donald Trump win the election. He says there has never been a contract for a fight between himself and Jan Gary and that the fight has never been offered to him. He also reveals that now there are talks about him returning against top contender Jack Della Maddalena, a fight which he hopes can get him another title shot. Lastly, Colby Covington says he's rooting for Stipe Miocic to beat John Jones at UFC 309 because Stipe is a great American with morals and values, something that Jones lacks. We all know it's not an easy fight for Stipe, and UFC 309 backup fighter Tom Aspinall thinks the same. He gives his opinion on the fight and says that Stipe's only path to victory at UFC 309 is a knockout. If he could not punch Jones really hard, he's not gonna win the fight. By the way, Tom Aspinall says that he is no more expecting the call but will be ready to fight at UFC 309 if needed. Due to Cody Garbrandt dropping out of his UFC Vegas 100 co-main event fight versus Miles Jones due to injury, Vince Morales offered his service to rematch with Miles Jones. But the UFC maybe didn't like this idea and now Miles Jones is also dropped from the card due to the UFC not being able to find a suitable opponent for him on such a short notice. Due to this, Ricky Tercius vs Bernardo Sopat is now bumped up to the co-main event and not the fan-favorite fight between Janier De Ridder vs Gerald Meerschaert. De Ridder casually goes from headlining several shows in Asia, holding multiple divisional titles, finishing 15 of his 17 wins, to a UFC debut in the lifeless Apex that's not even the co-main event. From 1-2 division champion Janier De Ridder explains how no fights and being parked on the sidelines led to his jump over to the UFC, and now he is looking to show he's a top dog at middleweight with a flashy win in his debut versus Gerald Meerschaert. He is also interested in potential Bo Nickel fight after making UFC debut. By the way, Anatoly Malakhin is the guy who sidelined Rania Derrida in ONE FC by getting both of his belts and becoming the new cash cow from the promotion. He is the first triple champ of the promotion and he is defending his heavyweight belt this Friday against Rayog. It's a non-UFC fight, still it's already anticipated, and this gets more exciting when they both get physical at their face-off and had to be separated by security crew ahead of 169. Face-offs of Top Rank's boxing card are also done, which will be headlined by Keyshawn Davis this Saturday night. By the way, Gervonta Davis blocked him when he said in an interview that Gervonta is ducking and doesn't want to fight him. Now let's move towards other important news from the boxing world. Mark Shapiro is asked about Dana White's recent comments about getting into boxing. He says there is nothing to announce today, but if they were to get into boxing, they see it as doing it with a partner who would fund it and pay them to operate. Riot Season seems to have struck a deal with the Ring magazine, which has been owned by Oscar De La Hoya since 2007. The interesting part of this development is how this impacts the Ring belt and the undisputed title, as boxing seemingly moves to one world title per division. And Eddie Hearn has named the fights. He had won for a 5-5 against Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy, Jaron Boots Ennis vs Ryan Garcia, Shakur Stevenson vs William Zepeda, Israel Madrimo vs Virgil Ortiz, Johnny Opitaya vs Gilberto Ramirez, and Jack Cattrall vs Jose Ramirez. I think it would be a solid card if it really happened. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section and do subscribe to stay updated with the fight world. Before you go, enjoy Alex Pereira knocking down a Brazilian YouTuber with body punches.